Before we do that, I want to share with you a really interesting conversation. I'm going to talk now to Dr. Claire Guest. She's founder of a charity called Medical Detection Dogs. This is a charity which is working with dogs who literally can smell diabetes, problems with people who've got diabetes. They can detect if people's sugar levels are falling, and they can also check, well, that's the suggestion, they can detect cancer in people. So Dr. Claire Guest, founder of Medical Detection Dogs, who's written this great book about her dog Daisy. Hello, Claire.
Hello.
Now, Claire Guest, you had been working for some time with dogs, convinced that they could detect cancer and other illnesses. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, it came from anecdotes. I mean, I love dogs and I've worked with dogs for many, many years. And you start to hear stories, people that have said, I think my dog warned me about a cancer. And I actually had a friend who had the exact experience. She had a small mole on her calf. Her dog persistently licked and sniffed at this mole. And in the end, she went to a GP and it was a malignant melanoma, a very, very serious form of skin cancer. And it really got me thinking, this is something incredible, and what an incredible difference it could make to diagnosis in the future if we could understand how a dog had done it.
So you are there you are working with dogs, trying to advance your instincts and your beliefs, and then there you are taking your dogs for a walk, and the lovely Daisy, who of course I have to declare an interest because I've met her, she had something to tell you, didn't she?
She did. I mean, it really was an unusual twist in the tail, really, if I can use that doggy analogy, because she was working on a bladder cancer project. We'd already published in the British Medical Journal in 2004, and we'd shown that we were able to train dogs to do this. And we were continuing to do so, but this is by giving samples to the dogs. So samples come from the hospital, and all the dogs do is sniff the samples and learn which ones smell of the cancer. So, I was actually bemused the night that she seemed a bit sort of wary. Her eyes, she's got big brown eyes, as you know, and she sort of looked at me in an odd way and went to take her for a walk, as you say, and she didn't want to go and run about. She just kept staring at me and nudging at me, and I just thought, what on earth's the matter with her? Sort of told her to go and run around, which eventually she did. But I sort of, felt where she'd been nudging me, and I felt like a sort of deep bruise. And it just, made me wonder, and I felt this area for a couple of days, and eventually went to see my GP myself, but actually had no idea at the time whatsoever what was going to happen next.
And she had, in fact, detected a cancer.
Indeed, a very, very early stage, but the interesting thing as well, or the thing that's so, incredible, is that it was a very, very deep-seated cancer, and my clinician said that I was 45 at the time, I wouldn't have had a mammogram and then for 5 years, and he said that by the time it had been felt, but by the time I could have felt anything, it would have been a very large tumour and my prognosis would have been very poor.
So now working away with your charity, the Medical Detection Dogs in Buckinghamshire,
Yeah.
You are now in a pilot programme with 1 or 2 NHS hospitals.
That's right. We're working with Milton Keynes University Hospital, and what we're looking at is we want to discover how the dogs did this, but we also want to find out how reliably they can do it with samples. So we've got a 3-year study. We're looking at urine samples, actually looking at prostate cancer in the main. We're focusing on prostate cancer, major killer of men, very difficult to diagnose reliably. And if we can prove over the 3 years that dogs can do it more reliably than current tests, then this would be offered as a service in the future. We're also looking at breast cancer, following my experience. That the team at Bucks NHS Hospitals have started a study with us to look at how Daisy did it. How did she manage to do it? And if we can understand how she did it, again, save many, many women's lives in the future.
Because dogs have, I didn't know that till I came to see you, Claire, dogs have 2 noses.
They do. They have 2 noses. They have the nose on the end of their face, which we all know about, but they also have this it's called the organ of Jacobson at the back of the throat, and it actually scans large volatiles, so big molecules. It's mainly used for sort of communication. It's a sort of pheromonal organ it measures. But when a dog sniffs, he actually, if he's interested, he sniffs twice. We can't see it without slowing it down, but he sniffs through his nose and then he gulps into the back of his throat. And this gives him 2 different ways of looking at a smell, if you like.
And if you get no NHS funding at all, if this gets the go ahead, because I know Jeremy Hunt, the Health Secretary, is taking a close interest in what you're doing.
Yes.
It could be vitally important in detecting early cancer, but also it could save the NHS potentially hundreds of millions, if not more money.
It does. We will do. I mean, we have an assistance dog program, which, we're not going to talk about today, but, these are dogs that warn people of oncoming medical emergencies, already saving thousands. These were people that were going into hospital every day. But of course, the key to survival for cancer and the key to reduce costs, in fact, are to catch these things early. The treatment has improved hugely for cancer, but at a huge cost, both to the patient and their well-being, but also to the NHS. These treatments are, ferociously expensive. What we want to do is we want a non-invasive, reliable, accurate diagnostic that people will be happy to do, and cancer will become, I hope, in the future, something which nobody would ever be pleased they had the diagnosis, but because it's early, they know it can be dealt with, and they can go on living their lives.
And what is the view of the medical establishment? Very conservative, of course, with a small c. Are they a little, shall we say, distrustful and wary of your wonderful dogs?
They were indeed, to start with. In fact, the term I would use is they were slightly sniffy about it all.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah, indeed. But no, they were, and quite rightly. I think if anecdotes are fine, but you have to show that there's an evidence base. You have to show that this is, you can repeat it, that these results are replicable, that they can stand up to scrutiny, and that's what these next 3 years are all about. And I have to say that now we're engaging in trials with 3-year trials over a large number of patients. 3,000 patients will be involved in this next study. There's now a huge amount of interest, and I think people are genuinely, medics are genuinely becoming very, engaged in what we're doing. And at the end of the day, it's research. You never know the answer when you start, but there's a real potential here, and there's a really good reason to look at it further.
And they're already, I know some of your dogs are working with people who've got severe diabetes,
yes,
narcolepsy. And tell that story, Claire, about the little boy who was asleep in bed and the dog was in another part of the house.
Well, if you look at dog smell, we haven't sort of talked. A dog can go down to parts per trillion, which means nothing to us, does it? What's a part per trillion? Well, we can smell a teaspoon of sugar in a cup of tea. Daisy can probably smell a teaspoon of sugar in 2 Olympic swimming pools. So with the Olympics going on, you can just imagine that's an incredibly good sense of smell. With cancer, we've learned that dogs have to be quite near the sample. We're talking about low levels if the urine samples come from somebody with cancer. But with our diabetes detector dogs, the dogs detecting human blood sugar levels, it seems to be that the dogs find it really quite easy. And we have young children, they were having their bloods tested through the night every 2 hours sometimes because their diabetes was so unstable. We've discovered that dogs will be downstairs, as you mentioned, and will smell the odour from there, go and wake the parents or alert the parents. Even from the football touchline, little boy plays football. He wasn't able to before, he can now. The dog sits on the touchline. As soon as he smells that odour change, telling mum to go and get him off the pitch, take his blood and adjust his levels. It's really, honestly, it's incredible. And when I see it, it still brings a tear to my eye because it is so simple and yet it is life-saving.
And also, it's life-saving for that boy too, but what a tremendous difference it makes to the lives of the parents who don't have to get up every 2 hours or have somebody in the house checking the blood every 2 hours.
Incredible. These parents were exhausted. And you come to us, saying, they don't know what to do next.
And this what you're doing with the dogs, Claire, it gives a whole new meaning to the expression, man's best friend is a dog.
It does indeed, and I think people often say, well, if they're so good at this, why didn't we know this much earlier? And I think the truth of the matter is that we're only really starting to develop the correct relationship with our dogs. It was a bit of a master-slave relationship for a long time, and whilst that's appropriate in some situations, it doesn't enable the dog to communicate what he knows back to us. And I think now we have these relationships with dogs. We understand they're much better at certain things than we are, and we're training them in a way that they can tell us about things. And this is really the start. What else could they tell us? What else do they understand that we're totally unaware of?
Now, I know people listening to this, just finally, Claire, will think, oh my God, I want to go and see these dogs. I want to see if they can detect whether I've got cancer. Now, that's not what you're doing just yet, are you? You're doing it it's a controlled experiment with the NHS.
Exactly. So if you were happen to go into Milton Keynes Hospital with a urological problem, then you would be asked if you would like to partake in the study. But at the moment, yes, you have to go through patient consent, and we have to stick to very strict ethical guidelines until we, when we get to the stage we know this is a test that's reliable. Then of course things will change. But the next couple of years, we're growing a body of evidence.
And how's Daisy?
Daisy's fine. We call her senior consultant now. She's
Bless her.
12, bless her, and she's very, very, very good. If a sample comes in that the young dogs that are in training are struggling with, we get Daisy just to check the sample, and she'll let us know whether whether it is a genuinely difficult sample or whether the youngsters just need to buck themselves up.
And just remind us, Claire, the title of the book?
It's called Daisy's Gift, and I'm so glad that actually the gift of Daisy saving my life, but also the gift I hope she's given to many, many thousands of people in the future. I'm glad that it's been written while she's still beside me, because it's fantastic to tell her story.
It's a truly amazing charity. I've been down there. It's in Buckinghamshire. That was Dr. Claire Guest, founder of Medical Detection Dogs. You can buy the book, Daisy's Gift. It's the remarkable cancer detecting dog who saved Claire Guest's life. It's available now. Great, great charity. And those dogs should be on the NHS as soon as possible.